just in case I get famous.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, good. You?
Restart. What happened?
Why not?
You're like nervous. Sit here. Okay. I'm gonna enter. Hi, good morning. How are you? My name is Lark. Nice to meet you. May I take a sit?
Oh wait. What if I say how are you before?
That's fine.
But what are you going to say? What would you say?
Whatever, well,
Okay.
by nature.
Okay.
Don't be thinking, you're just coming in here. Hi, hi. I think what's also getting to you is. Oh, shoot. This table is too close.
What do you mean?
It's when you're coming into. Whoa, it's a table already. Pick back up just a little bit. There you go. Because me, when I came in here, I'm like, whoa, that table, like, this person that threw me off. And I like how we're getting this all in video. Okay. So when you come in, just say hi, hello, good morning, or afternoon, or hi, how are you? My name is Kendrick Dalmacio, nice to meet you. And then, may I have a seat, please? Okay.
But for online, how would it be? Would it be different?
So when it's online,
Yeah.
when your screen appears, first things, of course, hi, how are you doing? My name is Kendrick Dalmacio, nice to meet you. It's similar to this introduction minus the entering and asking to be sat down. Okay, that's the difference with your online and in-person interview.
I asked, may I take a seat?
Courtesy, yeah.
Okay.
Of course, when you're online, you don't do that. It's just weird.
Of course. Okay.
Because right now, what we're doing is practicing your in-person interview.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
My name is Kendrick.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Lark.
May I have a seat?
Go ahead. How are you today?
Oh, I'm great. I'm just ready for this interview.
Okay, so Kendrick, tell me a little about yourself.
Okay, I was basically born on the island of Guam. I kind of grew up around my dad. After school, I would go to my dad's work, and my dad's a retail pharmacist, so I'd kind of watch some of the things he would do and learn a bit, and I became a bit curious about some of the stuff he does. I would see some of the pills around and some of the different types of drugs that are just in the room, and that really sparked an interest. Like, what are all these things about, really? And a bit about myself. I'm a bit of a hardworking person personally. In high school, I usually strive to get an A as much as possible, and when I have this like personal philosophy about myself, if I'm not spending my time trying to help other people get better or succeed at whatever it is they could be doing, I feel like I'm wasting my time personally. So I personally would like to try and help other people if they need it. That's just a personal thing about myself.
Okay, so can you explain again about your? Never mind. So that's all. So working with your dad and seeing what he does in pharmacy. Your dad's a pharmacy technician.
Yeah, he's a retail pharmacist.
Retail pharmacist,
Yeah.
And you were able to. Have you had a chance to go and work with him, right?
I did some shadowing of him over the summer. Yes.
But prior to this, during your high school years, you were able to also. Were you given the opportunity to also shadow him inside, or just go to work with him at least and kind of see what he does?
When I got into high school, it was more of a sometimes thing because my high school isn't as close to his work. It was more in middle school when I would be taken to his work after school, because my middle school is right next to his workplace.
Okay, so that's what made you interested in pharmacy as the time has gone.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you repeat again that part where you said about time, about helping
Oh,
people?
yes. So I have a bit of a personal philosophy. I usually, if I if I'm not spending my time trying to help others or try to make other people's lives better, I feel like I'm essentially wasting my time. I feel like my time could be. I see time as something that's very precious because we don't have a lot of time here. So I always do my best to try and help others as much as possible.
And if you're not helping others, what are you doing?
I guess taking care of myself. I'm a bit of a busy college student, so I have to take care of my other classes or try and take care of my own health, exercise, things like that, hobbies. Extracurriculars, if I have that much free time.
Sounds like you're very busy. How do you prioritize your busy schedule?
I usually try to see open blocks in between my classes and try and place some study time. If I realize that there's a test that's coming up really close, I would prioritize create study blocks throughout the week to try and get prepared for that. I mean, a good example is actually this weekend. I was falling behind on a lab report because it was midterms week last week. So this whole weekend, or just yesterday, I spent the whole day prioritizing my lab report, which I heard that it takes some people a whole week to do. It took me, I spent the whole day and I just about finished the drafting it out. So that's how I kind of do it. If I'm running out of time or if other priorities start taking precedence over my main ones, I would make sure to at least settle out a day ahead, especially if it's a weekend, and if it's a big project like a lab report, I would open up that whole weekend for that report.
Okay. What qualities do you possess to allow you to become a pharmacist?
Well, I believe a pharmacist should be compassionate, friendly. I see myself as a bit bearing some of these qualities. I usually, like I said, my personal philosophy, I usually always try to help people as much as possible. And I usually try to be as friendly as I can, as welcoming to other people, so that they're not afraid of receiving help or any advice from their pharmacist. Because as I know, pharmacists play a very important role in providing healthcare and advice to their patients, which leads me to another trait of a pharmacist. A pharmacist has to display leadership to make sure things are running properly. A pharmacist needs to be able to manage his or her technicians and make sure things are in the right places, drugs are in the right places. So a pharmacist also has to be an organized type of person too.
Okay. How do you think leadership can play a role in the pharmaceutical profession?
I guess just managing everything. The technicians can't handle or run the pharmacy by themselves. They need the pharmacist to help them if they have any questions or need help. And some patients come in and they ask questions to technicians. Technicians can't figure out the answer. Then it would most likely have to come. The answer would most likely come from a pharmacist, because of course the pharmacist has to have had prior education before he begins working at his pharmacy, whether it be retail or any other branch of pharmacy.
Okay. Speaking of leadership, have you had any leadership roles?
Yes, just this last school year I was very involved. I mean, even this school year I'm actually very involved. For one, I'm the vice president of the pre-pharmacy club here at the university for this school year, and I am the Hilo chapter ambassador for Host of Future Health Professionals. An interesting area of leadership there is that we didn't have a full council for the beginning of the year, so we were
For which one?
For HOSA, Future All Professionals. So it was basically we had an office of 3, so each one of us was basically taking on the leadership role of multiple positions ourselves, and that was a bit of a tough one. And then last year I was the relay team captain for HOSA Future All Professionals, and an interesting part about that is I was doing a lot of the work, I guess, putting some committees together, getting people to volunteer for certain relay events that were coming up, and in a short amount of time, we had to get these types of funds called relay bucks to help secure a good spot on the day of relay. So that was important, and I had to send out many emails, and so that's an important aspect of leadership, being able to delegate tasks and make sure everyone's following on their tasks.
Okay. If there was only one spot left, why should we choose you?
Okay. I think you should choose me because if you choose me, I'm going to, well, being that there is one spot left, I'm going to earn that spot. I'm going to really personally work hard for that. If given the spot, I will personally work hard in all my classes to be the best I can be as a student at the College of Pharmacy. I believe that based on my resume, if you've read it, that I'm very, very involved in extracurriculars, but I'm also very focused in terms of my studies. First semester last year, I had a 4.0 GPA in all my class for that semester, and I got A's in my main science courses. And I'm also pretty good at balancing my time wisely. Unlike other applicants, some people may not care much about their classes if they're very involved in a lot of organizations. For me, I'm pretty good at prioritizing my time for these activities and my studies. I also have done some research on the side. At the College of Pharmacy Research Center over in Steinbach with Dr. Sun. So I'm a bit familiar with some of the research some of your faculty does here, and it's very, I feel like if Dr. Sun wants, I can even help him out with some of those research, or maybe learn more new techniques that I can probably provide if I decide to help some of the faculty here with some of their research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Give me your strengths first.
Okay, some of my strengths are being very active and a bit pretty assertive. When I know I need help, I'll probably text, email, call, or go straight up to a person, tell them, hey, I need your help. I'm not going to be one of those people who are kind of letting things go, or if there's a problem, I'm not going to push it aside. I usually try to address issues, especially if it's a big issue. I usually try to get that taken care of as soon as possible. I usually am pretty good at prioritizing my studies. As you can tell by my work ethic and my grades, that I'm very focused when it comes to my studies, so I guess that would be a pretty good strength.
Okay. What about your weaknesses?
I guess a big weakness for me is a lot of people say I worry too much.
Mm-hmm.
That I worry too much where it causes me to get a lot of stress, but personally, I think that though this worrying thing can be a weakness, it has also been able to help me out through very difficult situations in my life. For example, for deadlines, if something is coming up and it's 2 weeks away, I usually begin planning ahead. I mean, a lot of people don't think, oh, why are you planning ahead for this? Why are you studying ahead for this test, or doing this homework so early? Or Kendrick, you're so extra, or you study too much, Kendrick, why don't you come hang out? I usually get a lot of these types of conversations. So what I would do is, though this is a weakness, I feel like it's me telling myself that I have limits and I need to know that I must prioritize if the situation for my grades are coming in conflict with extra things in my life.
Okay. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
In 10 years, I hope to probably be a pharmacist. I have not experienced some of the other branches of pharmacy because I'm not in any pharmacy program right now, but I hope to find some interest in there and hopefully decide on a specific branch of pharmacy that I might be interested in, and if possible, I might consider if the Hilo pharmacies here aren't too good for me, I would probably maybe go back home, work at a pharmacy there, maybe work with my dad. Probably one of those.
What issues do you see in healthcare right now that gets to you or that really attracts your attention?
Okay, I would probably say the right now a current issue is the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, because we have a new president right now. He really doesn't agree with Obamacare, so it's being put into the plate right now of should we keep this or mainly he's more on the side of removing it. So healthcare is a very important thing because people need to be able to take care of themselves, and some people can't afford it, some people can afford it. So I guess voting on issues like these and people's attention to healthcare is a very important situation that needs to be addressed.
Okay. How do you handle stress?
What I do is I usually would exercise or to try and get rid of that stress, or I would maybe play a game or talk to people, have conversations with people to try and feel better, maybe talk about some of the stresses I'm going through. That sometimes helps.
Mm-hmm. Why should we choose you for DKICP?
You should choose me because I am very interested in your college. Just the environment here, it's great. I've been here through about 2 years. I'm on my second year of my undergrad here, so I'm from here. I usually am, like I said before, I'm pretty hardworking. I have a lot of friends here who also tell me about how it's like, and I hear a lot of great things about this college of pharmacy. That's why I originally applied on early decision here.
Mm-hmm. Going back to your strengths, you said that you mentioned being active. Can you elaborate?
By active, I mean being involved, I guess, in the clubs here. It's a great way. It's a great way to get yourself out there and meet new people. Networking and establishing new connections with different people. I see that as very important. I've met a lot of great people during my undergrad here who have helped me push myself forward. So I would say that being active is an important part of a student's lifestyle. They shouldn't be just stuck in their dorm room and just sleeping all day. They should be getting out there, getting involved, doing some community service. And yeah, some of the clubs I'm in helped really highly recommend these, being active.
How do you deal with failure?
When I fail, if it's something big, I would be a bit sad, but I would try and tell myself that I can do better. It's just a small mistake. It's not the end of the world. There's still more tests to come, or it's only the beginning, and this is just part of the learning process. Every time you fail, you just gotta make sure that when you fail, you get back up and you don't stay down and say that and just give up. basically don't give up because there's always more you can do.
Mhm. So if admitted into the pharmacy school, you have what we call a cohort. Do you know what's a cohort?
I'm not sure.
Cohort's pretty much a specific class just amongst yourselves that you'll be. Those are the same amount of people, your own classmates, from day one until the day of graduation.
Okay.
Okay. During your years with your cohort, you'll be assigned projects such as community projects. Reaching out to them. Participating in the health fair, conducting booths and such. And obviously, you're going to be put in these groups and perhaps maybe given a specific role, maybe chairing this event, putting this together here. How would you go about if the people in your group constantly shuts down your ideas?
Well, there has to be a reason behind them shutting down my ideas. If my ideas are too big and they say, "Oh, Kendrick, that's a bit too extravagant of an idea. I don't think we should do that. I think we should keep things a bit simpler." That's happened before, and then what I would do is I would reassess what I'm doing and understand is this really that big of a step in or going above and beyond, because that's something that I guess is another weakness about myself. I go a bit above and beyond on some tasks. So what I would do is reassess if it's that big of an issue and all of them are uncooperative with pushing through with a bigger idea or going a bit above and beyond. I would probably push that out and see what everyone else has in replacement, or see what other people's ideas are, to see if maybe they have a better idea than me, or maybe they have a simpler version of mine. I don't know. It's just important that I ask every person and get all of their ideas on the specific topic or issue. Especially if I'm chairing, I need to be able to talk to everyone, get what their ideas are on this.
Mhm. As a general member, all of your cohort, and you're putting these events together, how likely do you think your voice will be heard during the giving opinions?
Usually, not much people like to listen to me, but that's normal. I mean, when someone takes charge and the person is very demanding, the people usually first response would not listen to you. But if you do get a group that listens to you, that's even better, because it'll be easier to delegate tasks. But if they don't listen, that's a bit tough. That means you need to start trying to convince them, tell them about the pressure of the situation, or especially if the deadline is coming close, planning ahead, talking to everyone about what they think we should do. I mean, if they didn't listen to me, if they didn't think my idea was good, and if they completely don't follow the tasks I delegate, I would say, well, what do they want to do? What ideas do they have? Because if my ideas aren't good enough, or if they have a better idea of what we should do, I would like to hear it. Maybe we could push forward that. And otherwise, if they don't have anything and we're doing nothing, I'm going to push forward mine, because otherwise we'd be wasting our time and the deadline would approach and everything would fall apart.
Okay. When you say why don't people listen to you? What makes you give you that conception?
I guess a bit of sometimes when I speak, it doesn't seem like I'm very confident with what I'm saying, and that I feel like that kind of turns people's listening skills off and say, "Oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about," or he's not really sure about what event's coming up, I guess. So I know way, or some people are like, "I know way more than this guy." So of course, every group's different. You'll probably get some people like that.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Why?
Because when I was younger, I used to be really obsessed with this video game character. His name was Sonic the Hedgehog. He was a blue hedgehog, and also my school colors were blue in high school and middle school. So, and also we went navy blue also, so different versions of blue I guess would also be fine, but mainly blue.
Okay. If you're a superhero, tell who would you be?
I would be Batman because he's more close to reality. He's a regular human guy. He has no superpowers, but he's a bit of an independent worker. He does his own thing. He creates his own new ideas. I feel like that's pretty amazing. He takes care of himself, takes care of his own health. I mean, he has a butler, but I feel like he's the one doing more of the work, and he's essentially helping everyone. He's helping a whole city that's fallen apart, and I feel like that's kind of a similar philosophy to myself. Even though everyone hates him, even the police force hates him, he's still doing his part, helping other people.
Okay. Well, that's all I have for you today. Give us a few weeks to respond to you should you get in the pharmacy school. Do you have any questions for us?
Oh, yes. Could I know a bit about how? I was doing some research about your college of pharmacy, and I read a lot about leadership. Could you tell me about some of the areas of leadership that's offered here?
In the pharmacy school?
Yes.
Are you looking at work position wise or as a student?
I guess some of maybe the clubs areas of the clubs.
Well, I'm not too familiar.
Or events too.
Well, I'm not too familiar with the organizations here at the pharmacy school, but I do know we do offer a few fraternities and organizations that you may join to further expand your leadership within the pharmacy program. In terms of faculty positions, of course, being a professor or administration to itself, such as Dean Ma, you're familiar with her.
Yeah.
She has a PharmD, but at the very end of it, look at her now. She is currently serving as the Dean of Pharmacy. So I do encourage you to still continue being active with your extracurriculars. Should you get into pharmacy school, it'll help continue expand your network and relationship with other organizations and persons that you'll meet throughout your career in the College of Pharmacy. Do you have anything else?
I wanted to ask, are there some things about the College of, or I hear that you do some research on the side for yourself as a professor at the College of Pharmacy. Could you tell me a little bit about some of the research you do?
So, the research I do conduct on is in the field of communication, where we're looking at the multidisciplinary culture in the Filipino part, on how Filipino stigma is incorporated into the United States and how Filipinos are underappreciated. And again, we're given that stigma that we're undermined as the brown people. So just collecting data, interviewing students who are first, second generation, not necessarily students, but families of first generation and second generation students on their perspective on this area, and perhaps how can we avoid and destroy the stigma of these Filipinos are uneducated and deemed as the brown one. So that's just a few of one of the researches that I do.
Oh. Another question, are there any things that you would say that being faculty that you like or dislike about working here?
Let me see. I like that we are one of the only schools here in the Pacific that offers a very prestigious program here at the university, and it's great opportunity for our students to be here, being that it's a rural area where there's not much access to. There are parts on the island that does not have much access to medicine, that students can take and can make use of it as an opportunity to go and reach out to those people and perhaps do some research on them and how they can amplify their lifestyle and also prolong it through the field of pharmacy. Anything else?
That's all the questions I have.
Okay. It was a pleasure. Thank you.